Hello, this is Art Johnson. Are you ready to take climate action in a meaningful, powerful, and effective way? When stick with me on this because we're starting to building the Climate Action Consortium, and this is going to be the thing that we need to turn that corner. So here we go. So we're talking about building the Climate Action Consortium. Consortium is a group of organizations that we are going to be reaching out to get us on the same page, to get a concerted message and policy and direction that really does good across the planet. And so let's just go through this. This is an intelligent, timely resource built in divinely guided steps. I go through a kind of a meditative process. I follow a lot of the science, and I listen to what's going on within me and outside of me, and it all points to taking meaningful climate action to do consortium. And this is week 6, February the 7th. This is a 52-week commitment. My name is Art Johnson. I'm the CEO and Chief Learning Officer of New World Communications. And that's my contact information. So time is really running out. There's a climate clock that's ticking in terms of what the scientists are telling us to bring down global warming so that we have a livable habitat. We've already lost 70% of animal species. They're already gone. And we're witnessing ocean acidification. Ocean has been a carbon sink, but we've gone beyond its capacity to be a healthy ocean and retain carbon. So we're seeing cascading impacts. We're also experiencing extreme weather events, flooding, tornadoes, hurricanes, drought, and fire, and massive death. Heat waves are already killing us in India and different places, and even here in Washington, we experienced an amazing heat dome, we called it, that killed several people. Millions of people are being displaced across the planet. And we see because of this, we see a heightened risk of war and mass annihilation. And there are massive catastrophic impacts. And scientists are saying that we are threatening a 6th mass extinction of species life from the impact of global warming if we don't bring it down. They can kind of look at geology and see where certain species have just vanished because of some massive event. It usually has to do with change in the environment and too much carbon and heating up the planet so nothing can exist. And so as the climate clock counts down, the costs are unfathomable. And so our mantra is to address Earth's pressing climate change challenges as creative and innovative climate action opportunities in timely, mission-critical ways. You know, we've been following a pretty neat organization called Project Drawdown that talks about over now 100 climate solutions to seize and to draw down carbon. And they're about to release a kind of a roadmap of where things can happen, points to which climate solutions we need to prioritize across market sectors within doable timeframes and targeting certain geographies, and that promises equity and promises inclusion. And the implementation depends, however, on our effectiveness. This is what the UN Climate Conference people are saying. It's up to you as independent actors to organize and mobilize your governments and your people to get on the same page about drawing down carbon. And so we're doing it by building the Climate Action Consortium. We're using Zoom, live stream to YouTube Live and Facebook Live across all of planet Earth. And we've been walking through the virtual door since 1997. We started by doing websites and e-storefronts, and then when the internet web conferencing came out, we really were the first early adopters of multiple different platforms. And we really, at that time, we realized it has near zero carbon footprint. It has really big reach, and it's potentially very learning rich if we get on the same page about the curriculum. And it's virtual face-to-face architecture. And we're building our own virtual enterprise. We've been doing this since 1997. It's ultra accessible and delivers phenomenal advantage. And one of the ways that I've been working on this personally, and I'm sharing this with you, is because we need to become more effective in a more timely way. So one of the things I did is I dusted off my copy of Stephen R. Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which are powerful lessons in personal change. I did this way back in September 2021. In terms of the habits that we do, there are kind of 3 major areas: the knowledge of what to do and why, the skills of how to do it, and the desire how that we're driven and want to do it. And we need to internalize these principles and patterns of behavior. And one of the things with climate change is people say, oh, this is terrible, but they stop and they say, I'm kind of overwhelmed, and they're not used to working with other people. They just haven't developed themselves from a habitual way, an effective way. And so the book really talks about that. He wasn't talking about climate change. He was just talking about being effective. But this has absolute relevance now in 2023. You start, of course, in your life as you grow up to be kind of dependent on parents and everybody. But as you grow into adulthood, become more independent. And there's kind of some steps that we have to kind of go through before we can be more effective in the public sphere. We call that private victory. And it has to do with becoming proactive. It has to do with beginning with the end in mind. I'm 76 years young, and I'm thinking about the legacy that I want to leave behind. You know, if you give me the tombstone test, I'll talk about that. So anyway, this is really what it's about. And the private victory has to do with not what you're being told so much as what is, happening, how you're being called to respond, how you're discerning what is happening to you in the world. There was an experiment at the Harvard Business School about perception and how it's influenced by other people. One group of students was told to see a young woman in this picture. So you see her chin, she's turning to the right, and you see her necklace on her, her neck. But another group was shown the same picture and was told to see an old woman. And then when you look at this, you start to see, oh my goodness, the chin has become a large nose and really narrow, lips, and a very, very old lady. So it's a very nice conception how easy it is to see how our perceptions, what we see, is socially conditioned based on what we're told to see, especially when and if we are dependent. Students dependent on what are told to see, think, and how to behave. And that's kind of how we were raised. I mean, our parents were caring for us and all that. But now we have to, discern. We have to really understand, and listen to what's good for us. And so this is a really nice book and lesson here. Now, what we're talking about is being less reactive. You've got this information, stimulus, and then, it's kind of a knee-jerk response, almost like being one of Pavlov's dogs, with being behavioral conditioning. And we need to make a paradigm shift involving 7 habits to have a more free, self-aware, freer, and effective life. And so this is really a great diagram here. What I've learned, particularly as I've aged, is to start to reflect and actually go into almost like a meditative state, actually doing meditation, and to become aware of more things and to actually really connect, I have what I call a silent partner. It has to do with understanding the presence of this amazing consciousness that is we're learning more and more as quantum physics says we have a living universe, and to essentially really tap into our curiosity and our imagination and our conscious, and also to really develop our independent will. And out of that freedom to choose, the response can be much more effective. And so living habit number one increases our response ability. That's really, really nice. Ability to respond effectively. And I've gone through a lot of things in my life. I'm at 76 years old, decade after decade. And I've had all these things impact my area of concern, my circle of concern. I mean, from everything from racism to issues of just social justice, and now facing ageism, and I've had some health issues, and everybody's scared of becoming impoverished and of being subject to ignorance. And we've seen some progress in the past, but now we're seeing a lot of regression and a whole lot of war. And now we're seeing climate catastrophe, species life, mass extinction. But that's our circle of our circle of influence is smaller than our circle of concern. So one of the things that we want to do is enlarge our circle of influence. And that's why I believe that we can help do this by developing our habits and matters and enlarging this, and by conversation and really kind of setting it right with people. So when we get to this stage, we're ready to start moving into really thinking about this habit too. I'm beginning with my end in mind. Imagine if someone was standing, you're looking over there, and that person at a casket is you. What would you have your family and other people say about you? And this should inform what you call a personal mission statement. I'd like to say, Art Johnson cared. He used his resources to really mobilize people and take effective things for our beautiful planet, and to save people's lives and to have people thrive. And so one of the things, there's a document here to, kind of a story, it's almost like a hero's journey from within that I'm being called to tell about, fighting, addressing all these challenges, but finding an inner voice and a way, and with skills that I've developed to resolve this issue. And that's my story, expressing from the inside out, that informs my personal statement. So I have a document. The book has great ways to do this, and he has, I did it on a spreadsheet to really kind of define my roles and have that inform what I do in my daily practice. There are other roles that I've done. I'm a husband and a father. I'm the CEO and chief learning officer, and still more roles as an author of books. I have kind of a musician background a little bit, and I'm an artist, come out of an artist family. So there are a lot of things that I need to manage. And so I have a kind of a thing of kind of seeing and checking with my personal development and making sure that it informs my life, and which is basically managing my time. And most of us are just kind of dealing with what's just urgent, paying the bills, doing this, the pressing problems, making this money, and there's some there's some things that are not really important that we just kind of chill, and we watch a lot of TV and involved with trivial stuff and just to kind of chill. But the most important area, quadrant, is up here about quadrant number 2, which has to do with dealing with climate change and climate action. It's one of those things that we need to just include to do every day in some kind of way. It could be the smallest way or even larger ways, and that things build on each other. And I'm a manager, so I'm a producer right now, but if I develop the way to manage my life and manage my emotions and thoughts and skills development, then I can have more greater impact as a manager of of things and more people. And so here's the 7 habits paradigmatic process that starts again with being active, beginning with the end in mind, and putting first things first, prioritizing, like I was showing you, and then you become somewhat independent. But it doesn't stop there. Now we got to work on this area, which has to do with thinking win-win. Habit 4 is a lot of people are thinking the reason why they don't do anything about climate change, they think they have to lose something. So I would lose my freedom. I'd lose my, my gas guzzling car. I would lose this, and I would lose something, or we'd both lose if we sacrificed all our great life. And what did we have for this? And then so the best thing that we can do is achieve win-win, which has to do with really, really, disciplining ourselves to hear people, even people from different sides of the aisle politically, and across the sexes, across the generations, all those things, those issues that seem to divide us. And we have to do it win-win. Everyone has to win. The species have to win. And this takes some courage and, a lot of consideration here to move into this quadrant of win-win. And so here are just some typical kind of polarities between women and men, progressive, conservative, left-wing, right-wing, pro-vaccine people, pro-mask, anti-mask, peace or the hawk, Christian, non-Christian, non-believer, believer. All of these things are issues that can be resolved. And one habit 6 says the way we can do this is to synergize. And we can get a lot of insight by studying some of the Eastern religions like Taoism, which kind of integrates, the yin and the yang, and the feminine and the masculine, and shows the interconnection at the center. It's really a beautiful symbol. And then in philosophy, Buddhist philosophy talks about fishing for the third alternative. So between thesis and antithesis, there's a dialectical movement where we can achieve synthesis. So we have to do this in terms of looking at a political process too. And, some people are ready to do in all of capitalism, and some people say, I just want socialism. It may be a synthesis where we have a social capitalism instead of a monopoly capitalism, and this is kind of where it seems like things may be moving or could be moving. And so in terms of synergizing, you can see how the cooperation improves with synergistic win-win situation. At this level here, it's really defensive, and compromise is better. It's at least a compromise. And then you move at a higher level of consciousness and communication where things are really synergistic. So anyway, what we're in the process of doing is sharpening our axe, sharpening our saw, and there's Abraham Lincoln said, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. So, and we're talking about dull consciousness and waking up to the reality of what we have to do in our lives, how to manage our bodies, how to manage our heart, how to manage our mind, and how to manage our spirit. And the job is way harder to do if the tool is dull and you don't take the time to sharpen yourself. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm really full of joy, even in the middle of all this crisis, because I really have a feeling of accessing an amazing sense of power that has to do with the good that can flow among people. And so I'm doing it through my e-learning services. This is my end in mind here. And what I've designed is, over the years, since 1997, a robust suite of e-learning services, which I'm now using to as a whole mobilization tool set that can mobilize people across. And that's why I'm doing my YouTube television, and then I'm doing virtual focus groups. Every organization, every business that I know could benefit by getting on focus and being more sharp and on target, because people have changed. You know, you might think you understand what people need, but you need to ask them, you need to engage them. You have to share with you what you're thinking about and have them share in trust what they're thinking about, and then listen and come out with that win-win dialogue that can move forward. So that's really what we're talking about here. Sharpening the saw and the upward spiral. That's why we're so committed to learning. So we can commit, we can learn, we can do, we can commit, and learn and do. And this spirals our circle of influence, you see? And the job is way harder if the tool is dull, but if we don't take time to sharpen ourselves, we can do the sharpening too by watching my videos and by coming together as a people across generations, across the planet. And you can see how our circle of concern can be expanded. The great thing about climate change is everybody's included, whether they realize it or not. I mean, everyone has to breathe air, everyone has to drink water, everyone has to live somewhere, we need to get along. And so this is the whole thing of achieving private and public victory. And the whole thing is about global strategic partnership building. And it's across generations, across genders, across communities, across market sectors, across the US, and across our entire planet. And we're doing this through collaborative storytelling. What story are you being called to tell at this whatever stage in your life you might be, in your life journey? How can we help you tell your story? And, you know, who's involved? I mean, this is a beautiful creative exercise, and to listen for the characters in that, and then to see how we can play that out. So we're training and empowering ourselves to effectively tell our own climate action story well. And it's not a lone individual thing. It's about the whole consortium of people coming together to tell their stories and to resolve all the issues in their life that they've just focused on. Maybe it's just getting your business together, or defining yourself sexually or politically or in whatever, dealing with ageism or whatever. I just love it when you can just kind of go beyond that and start looking at working together to kind of resolve the issues of the world. So I invite you to come and join us, call and text us. Again, my name is Art Johnson, and you can visit me at www.newworldcom.com. You can email me at support@newworldcom.com. You can give me a call at 206-920-8067 or text me, and I will listen. And I offer a free complimentary consultation over Zoom if you visit my website and go to our Contact Us page and request an appointment. So let's do it. And I look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.